All right, gentlemen, let's move straight to our next conversation. Residents of Borno State who have been displaced for nearly 10 years after fleeing the Boko Haram crisis to Babagana Zulum in Chad Republic are about to be reunited with their ancestral roots. Borno State Governor Babagana Zulum has led a delegation of Nigerian government officials to commence the repatriation of refugees. A tripartite agreement between Nigeria, Chad and the United Nations High Commission for Refugees in Babagana Zulum was signed. Before launching the repatriation, the governor emphasized that only those who voluntarily expressed interest would be repatriated. The Borno State governor, leading the charge, leading the delegation of Nigerians for the smooth repatriation of Borno indigents who fled the insurgency. Your thoughts on this?
It's a wonderful thing. Back then when we were in university, I recall that when you talk about Unimate, when you talk about Borno generally, that's a place everybody wants to go. At a time, the University of Borno had the largest number, the highest number of professors. That's how amiable, that's how much people want to identify with Borno. And there came a time when you mentioned Borno, people felt you're sentencing them, you're putting them on a death sentence. When you tell a core member you're posted to
oh no.
Do you understand? But the truth is the narrative has changed. Have you forgotten that for years you can't even fly to Maiduguri Airport? A lot of people go through Maiduguri Airport. Sometimes even your flight is diverted to Maiduguri before you get to Abuja.
Exactly.
And so, for me, I think there's nothing as soothing as going back to your ancestral homes. There's nothing like, because sometimes somebody will tell you the story that you are an unwelcome immigrant. We just helped you at a particular time. But when you're able to trace your roots, when you're able to go back to where you belong, and kudos to Babagana Zulum and whoever are working with him in that
the federal government as well is also
there. It's quite commendable, and it's also to say that when you assure people of bringing them back, because I've been to Borno in the last 2 years or thereabout, and I was like, wow, you mean I can walk around at 11 p.m. I can walk around at 8 p.m.
Okay.
This was not the Borno that I pictured until I went there. So for the people, some are looking forward to this. Some are saying that I need to go back. I need to, but you can still bring some traumatic situation. But with the regular program, good programs, they can actually address. I'm not saying they can overcome it, but they can take care of some of those traumas that they went through. But I think going back to the ancestral.
Now, talking about traumas, apart from bringing back this persons, this repatriated Nigerians, indigents into the country, what kind of programs? Now, when I say program, like starter packs that the government, the Borno State government, the federal can actually do or come up with to actually help these persons once they return.
One thing about Governor Zulum, don't forget, before he became governor, he was commissioner for rehabilitation, reconstruction, and resettlement. Okay. So I think that was why the previous governor, which is the vice president, actually gave him this duty, because he was the one in the trenches trying to see how he can bring people back to their ancestral homes. And in doing that, he had a master plan of what he really wanted to do.
Yes.
And part of that master plan was the resettlement of people who were already displaced. Borno had the highest number of IDPs.
And they've been displaced for long, more than 10 years, like 10 years.
So immediately, he moved into the saddle. He started finding ways on how to move people back to their ancestral homes. And he has been doing that since. So for him to have done this is not new. And first, if he's resettling, he resettles people in such a way that those things that you have lost as a person or as an individual, you get them back.
Restored, exactly.
One is education.
Okay.
So most of those who lost time, staying with their children, they are not going to school, he built schools for them. Some of them were teachers. So the first thing he would do is to look for teachers amongst them to go back to school, and they'll start teaching. So you that you are thinking that, oh, you won't, there won't be job for you to do. You know, he will bring you, absorb you into the teaching, profession, and then from there you continue your work, and you'll be paid.
Yeah, well,
you'll be paid.
Okay,
you understand? If you are a doctor and you are displaced in your community, he brings you straight into the healthcare center.
Those who are not willing to come back?
No.
Should the Borno State government abandon them, or should also be responsible for their welfare too?
I'm not sure there's anybody that have refused to say, I'm not going back to my village.
Some might love it over there again.
There's no, see,
home is home. True, I agree.
Whether you are abroad, all those people that are doing jackpot today,
home is home.
Once they get to they will remember Amala, they will remember Afansu. They would always want to come back home.
You remember Ikokore?
Yes. They will always want to come back home.
True.
So that is the thing. So even then, when they are there, they would, because the governor will assure them.
True.
What were you doing before? Were you a farmer? Don't worry. Your farms will be safe, will be secured by the military. Are you a teacher? You go back to schools, you start teaching, and then you'll be paid.
What we need.
Are you a doctor? Don't worry. And he has been doing this, and that is why Borno is getting this relative peace that we are experiencing now. Yes, there are still pockets of, but it's not like before that we used to hear bomb blasts every day.
No, quite a lot of
it was terrible back then, but now look at everywhere, it's quiet. So we have to give that commendation to the governor for what he has done and how he's settling these people back. And as he's bringing them, he's making them make sure that they have something to do.
So that they can integrate better.
Exactly.
Your thoughts on this one?
So I think, I'm sorry to say, that's why I have a bit of bias for people who went to school and being in government. This is not just an armchair intellectual. He is very much into, showing what governance is all about. Babagana Zulum, in my view, has really demonstrated leadership. And that's one of the things that we expect a lot of politicians to do. It's not about giving them just money and handouts, food, which it does very well. But we're talking about empowering them. We're talking about, because the biggest legacy you can give, like our fathers have told us, is still education. If you allow people to think for themselves, you allow people to build skills for themselves, you have, permanently empower them. Not just those handouts you have and things go. Because sometimes when we look at the way he's doing his thing, we keep asking, is this still in this part of the country where we hear from governors that, oh, it's not enough, the money is not enough, I'm struggling to pay salary. So for me, I think he has demonstrated that kind of leadership. And beyond that, the people, these things, people are going to accuse us that, oh, we've not been there. For those of us who have been to Borno, trust me, a lot has been restored. A lot has been restored. In fact, when they were talking to me, they were trying to look at me that I'm sure you're still scared. And yes, I said I'm still scared. But because that's what I've been fed with. Until I witness it and experience it, imagine those days telling you that you're going to pass through Maiduguri airport. You will think it's on a suicide mission. So I think the gesture should continue. And Zulum is an example of how to work with the federal government, well. Because he's not saying that, oh, security is exclusive list, it's with the federal government. He is taking the lead by himself. And that's a wake-up call to governors.
That's a serious wake-up call for the governors.
You don't have to be given state police before you do the needful.
Exactly.
Oh, that's another argument. It's another kind of... Let's not go into that argument right now.